I'm worried about Leagues too, and here's why. If you're new to the channel, hey, I'm Jolly. I'm a longtime old school RuneScape player who for the last 5 months has been playing through RS3 unguided as an Iron Man. That means I don't use the wiki, I don't look up any quest guides, I literally organically experience everything that the game has to offer. I, like many other old school players, have taken note of Jagex's attempts to try to restore the integrity of RS3. They removed all of the insane microtransactions that drove so many of us players away. They've been putting in a ton of effort to bring lots of new updates to the game to especially incentivize new and mid-game players to give the game an honest go. Most of my channel documents this unguided experience as raw as it can possibly be, so if you're interested, you can check that out. As someone who went into this unguided Iron Man RS3 journey with healthy optimism, one could say. Now, 5 months later, I didn't think that I would ever be saying this, but I've actually fallen in love with the game. And one of the main reasons why I have fallen in love with this version of RuneScape more than I ever thought I ever would is because of the slow-paced nature of an unguided journey. And if one of the goals of Leagues 2 is to bring in new players, you're essentially creating the exact opposite experience that caused this old school player to fall in love with the game. Now, the excitement behind Leagues is totally understandable. You get to start over. It's a super accelerated progression system. You're unlocking relic powers. You get to experience the game in a totally different way. For the existing player base, I mean, hell yeah, like what more could you want? It's a super exciting time. But if one of the goals of Leagues 2 is to bring in new folks or get people to try RS3, that's where my hesitations come in. I'm just not convinced that it's going to have a lasting effect. And in fact, I'm more convinced that Leagues is going to draw people away more than it could possibly bring in if Leagues wasn't happening. And me saying that comes from the personal interpretation of what the road to restoration for RS3 really looks like. With this long-term approach to bring integrity back to RuneScape and bring it back to the essence of when the game first began in an attempt to bring a nurturing, long-lasting player base. Bringing someone into the game, especially as a brand new player, or let's say someone who's played old school for forever and hasn't even tried RS3 since 2011, bringing them in for a few weeks is not the same as creating that long-term RuneScape player that I'm thinking Jagex wants. The whole idea behind a road to restoration and rebuilding is to bring people that are gonna stick around. When I first started my unguided RS3 journey, I had the perspective of probably most old school players, which is, holy crap, this game is super overwhelming. Abilities everywhere, you know, interfaces everywhere, all these new skills, the different currencies, all sorts of different systems, an entirely different approach to combat, all of this just instantly thrown at you. And in the modern age of gaming in 2026, a game company's mindset for fixing that tends to be, you know, give them more XP quickly. Let them skip over the slow parts. Rush them to endgame so they can see what, you know, the game is actually like. As a 19-year World of Warcraft veteran as well, I have seen this firsthand through how World of Warcraft now approaches things with a very seasonal approach. It wants you to level up as fast as possible, get you right into the current stuff. But the thing is, the heart of the design of RuneScape isn't necessarily designed to be a seasonal game. There are hardly any games out there that have the amount of raw hours put into a single character than RuneScape has. And that is such a beautiful thing. RuneScape's problem is not that the progressions are too slow. RuneScape has always been about building the relationship with the world around you and slowly progressing yourself to make sure that every achievement, every quest complete, every new item feels as impactful as it should feel. Now, granted, as an unguided Iron Man, all of those moments hit me personally even harder, in a good way. But even for the average player wanting to give this game a try, slow discovery is the best part of the entire experience, especially if you're coming from old school. And one of the things that I believe RS3 has over old school is how much more beautifully designed and fleshed out the world is. The quests, the characters, the stories, and the environments that you can immerse yourself into in RS3 give a totally different experience than the old school nostalgia of old school RuneScape. And when you take the time to talk to the characters, to read things, to explore around you, to make the mistakes, it makes the journey so satisfying for every little thing you unlock and achieve. And am I saying Fremennik Trials should take you 8 hours like it did for me? No. But what I am saying is the most surprising thing about RS3 is that you get more enjoyment out of this bigger, more fleshed out game the more you take your time with it. And you know what's crazy? There have been people in my comments, in my videos, that have been saying that they've been actually giving RS3 a try because of my personal approach and choosing to go the Iron Man route, maybe not necessarily unguided, but going for the approach that takes more time, an approach that isn't about rushing to this mythical made-up end game. Because RuneScape has never been about finishing. It's always been about the journey. And from what I gather, these people who are actually giving it a try in a true, honest, what I call Vibescape approach, where you just gotta go off of vibes rather than just trying to min-max every single thing. These players are actually sticking around and learning that RS3 is not as bad as all these old school mofos make it out to be. They're taking their time, they're exploring, they're allowing themselves to be confused and realizing that it's okay, that there's no rush. And that's exactly why I'm hesitant to think of Leagues 2 as an onboarding experience for new people in general, but especially for old school players. Let's be real, there is already a ton of tension and animosity between old school and RS3. Personally, I think it's unwarranted at this point, but you know what? The scars of the evolution of combat and all the heavy microtransaction monetization of RS3 over the years has still left scars in old school players today. Scars so big that people crap on RS3 without having ever gave it a chance for the last like 10 years. So what are people gonna do as soon as Leagues 2 comes out for RS3? They're gonna instantly start comparing it to old school with this poopy pants cap on that says, I hate the game, but I'm gonna do Leagues because it's new, I guess. And Leagues is gonna teach them to move too quickly. With the auto completion of like a ton of major storylines, supposedly. I haven't actually watched the Leagues video because I myself am scared of getting too spoiled as far as the story, the lore, etc. These players get a bombardment of quick XP, fast levels, quests complete, right access into the end game. But what happens when the league is over? That player goes back to the main game with no relic powers, super slow XP rates, progress reset, and now everything seems less rewarding. They might have seen a dozen different, systems and areas and whatever, but did they actually get to learn those things or, immerse themselves within that experience? No. It's like spending a few weeks sprinting through like a highlight reel of RS3's coolest things before ever actually being asked to have a proper RuneScape journey. And that's my big concern. Leagues creates this giant spike in interest in RS3. People rush into this highlight reel experience and then leave. And while I think some games can get away with this, I think because of that animosity between OSRS players and RS3, and I'm mainly talking about OSRS players just crapping on RS3 without actually trying, I feel like that come for a little bit, be like, man, this is not as good as old school, and then leave and never give it a chance again, that's gonna be more prominent. And it's the potential to lose a big chunk of people that could actually become longtime players if this wasn't happening. Let's face it, guys, RuneScape is an old school MMO. It's not a World of Warcraft. It's not a Final Fantasy 14. It's freaking enormous. It's confusing. It's inconsistent a lot of the times. Sometimes it feels like 20 different games and interfaces like all stacked up on top of each other. But that's what makes it fascinating. You're not supposed to understand everything right away. You're supposed to slowly carve out your understanding of this potentially lifelong journey. But that early confusion and slower progression and trying to figure everything out, that doesn't necessarily need to be something that has to be taken away. But instead, with the right guidance and expectations, They become part of the genuinely satisfying experience. And that is at the heart of what the road to restoration has been all about, right? Now listen, I'm not trying to say that everyone should be playing unguided like me. My point is that new players that are gonna actually stick around should be given the permission to go through things slowly and vibescape their way into RS3. If you go into RS3 with the current 2026 gamer mindset of just rushing to end game and min-maxing the whole way through, it's not going to be a fun time. And that's just the hard part about leagues, is that it's RuneScape, but, you know, faster, more in your face, and more immediately rewarding without that long-term satisfaction feel. But honestly, I hope I'm wrong. I genuinely hope that Leagues 2 introduces RS3 to thousands of new people, and then after the event is over, they create normal accounts, Iron Man, unguided or not, and slow down and fall in love with the game like I've had the pleasure of doing so far in 2026. That would be incredible. And I think Leagues is gonna be a freaking blast for the current player base. But as someone who genuinely wants people to see how great this game really is, those are my thoughts. I don't know, am I being outlandish? Are these thoughts not grounded in any sort of logic? I would love to hear your thoughts down below. And are you planning on participating in Leagues 2 yourself? Are you an old school person potentially interested? I want to hear all your thoughts, so make sure you let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching, and a big shout out to all of our channel members. Thank you guys so much for that extra bit of support. If you enjoy my videos, check out my Unguided series, and there's just a ton of more RS content coming to the channel over the course of the indefinite future. I also go live here on YouTube and on Twitch, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific time. I'd hope to see you there for one of those streams. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video as we continue this adventure together.